Hi, I'm Josh. Thanks for being here. The Sunday devotion starts right now. Hit the music.
Hey, welcome back to the Sunday devotion. My name is Josh. So glad that you are here. Hey, we're continuing our series Lost and Found, and we're only looking at one chapter of the Bible, Luke chapter 15. There are three parables in there that Jesus is telling to the Pharisees, and so they're not real accounts. They're just stories that Jesus told to better illustrate a point. To catch you up and to get into week 3, there was the story of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost sheep that Jesus is telling, where the shepherd has 100 sheep. One goes missing. He looks at the 99 and is just like, I gotta go. Jesus notices you. Just like a shepherd would notice when a sheep is gone. He'll go, do what he has to do to find it and bring that sheep home. And Jesus notices when you're not around, and he wants to be back with you. And every time we come back to Jesus, like a shepherd with his lost sheep, heaven celebrates. And then we read this parable about a woman with a lost coin. She had 10 coins, then she only had 9, and she dropped everything that she was doing to turn the house upside down to find the 10th one because it was so valuable to her. Just like that coin in this woman, Jesus is willing to just tear the house apart because Jesus values you. And then today we're going to get into the parable of the lost son. And I'll just go ahead and give it to you. Jesus welcomes you back. And as we keep reading in Luke 15, we hear about this son who went to his father, was ready to get his inheritance and go out and live his own life. He dreamed of this wild land where he could just do what he wanted, where he could spend the money he wanted, where he could just be his own man. And because he took his father's inheritance, he had the money to pay for all of these things. What a fantasy that was. Because we find that he got into a lot of wild living. I don't know what that is, really. But his money was suddenly gone because a famine came and hard times happened and people weren't fully honest with him, and it just didn't live up to this fantasy that he had had for himself. So if we look at this story, if we pause right here, we see that eventually we've got this son who had, his father's inheritance. He had this wild vision and dream and fantasy, and that it was actually him living with the pigs and trying to eat the food from the pigs because he couldn't afford to get food anywhere else. And then he wanted to go back to his house, but not as his son, but as his father's servant. So there's a lot going on here. One, we see that this son's decisions were impulsive, they were hurtful, and they were selfish. And those are three things that are, and it is hurtful to hear those things about a decision that you made. And maybe you've kind of seen yourself in this story a little bit. And maybe you've done some things that were impulsive, hurtful, or selfish. And let's just say this. That doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean you're broken or unfixable. It just simply means you are a human being. And yeah, you're going to do things that are impulsive, hurtful, and selfish at times. And then let's get into the bigger picture where the son didn't want to return to his father's house as the son, but instead as a servant. What we've got here is a easy, thick case of guilt and shame. Guilt is when we've done something wrong, and we know that. The son probably felt a lot of guilt in that I have made a huge mistake. We've all been there. Yeah, part of the human experience. But shame is this different thing that says you are wrong. Guilt says the action was wrong, but shame says that you are wrong. Because you did that decision because you were so inherently bad or evil or not good or broken or unfixable or gone. Shame makes us feel like we are not good enough to return to our father's house as a son, but instead as a servant. I think that's what this son was feeling right there. But if we keep reading in Luke 15, we see that when the son was coming to his house, even from a long way out, the father noticed him. And then the father ran to him, valued him. And then he called to his other servants and he just said, my son has returned, let's celebrate. Because heaven celebrates when we return home. And he put a robe on him. He put the ring on his finger. He put sandals on his feet. I believe that's what they call drip. So here's this father who loves his son so much that he's home. And even if the father had been hurt, even if the father had felt betrayed, even if he felt like he was just sad or depressed or couldn't get over it, he still saw his son coming and he ran to him and he welcomed him home. See, Luke 15, it's 3 parables that Jesus is telling to the Pharisees, who are very legal, rule-driven people. And they have a hard time understanding how if you break a rule, you can still be loved by God. You see, in that story, Jesus specifically pointed out that the son had to eat with pigs. And for the Pharisees who were hearing this story, that was just beyond insane. That was actually disgusting. That was actually just, oh, are you kidding me? Because they had a rule that if you eat pig, you are unclean. And if you are unclean, you cannot be loved by God. So here is Jesus telling this story, this incredible story of welcoming a son back. And he's telling it to a people who, for whatever reason, have a whole list of rules that say you don't belong here. But Jesus does the opposite and says, no matter what you've done, you belong here. I think it's worth asking, how are we welcoming people like Jesus did? Actually, let's just wrap up today with a very simple fill-in-the-blank exercise. You don't have to do much. I'm going to do all the work for you. But the statement is this, and it's a very good reminder for how we should live, that the people that we fail to love are the people Jesus loves with open arms. The people that we fail to acknowledge are the people that Jesus acknowledges with open arms. The people that we fail to invite are the people that Jesus invites with open arms. And the people that we fail to forgive are the people that Jesus forgives with open arms. And the people we fail to welcome are the people Jesus welcomes with open arms. And my question becomes, how are we welcoming people like Jesus? I hope it's through love and forgiveness, because those are the 2 things that combat guilt and shame. You know, if we have a guilty heart, that needs forgiveness, but if we have a shameful heart, that needs love, because love reminds us that we are actually valuable. And here we have a story of a father who loved, who forgave, who welcomed people home. Maybe that's what you need today, is to remember that you're loved, that you are forgiven, and that Jesus welcomes you back. Until we meet again, be well. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you would like more from the Sunday devotion, join us at 6:30 every Sunday on Zoom for the Sunday discussion. It's just a real quick small group kind of recapping some of the themes and ideas we've talked about here. Hope to see you online Sunday at 6:30.